All right, guys, now that we have things set up, we have our layout put in place, it's time to actually create the card service. So now we can come back to the card service and focus more on that. We have the CTS, we have everything we need. So the first thing to do is to create the structure of the data we want. So let's do that. The data is going to be divided into two parts. We're going to have the basic part and we're going to have the fuller part. So here we're going to have a type card param or card service param basic of struct. So we need a business name. So we need both the JSON and the BSIN. So BSIN of type business name as well. Like that. So we have the BSIN business name, JSON business name, then validates actually should be Python required. So let's add for the other ones. So the other one is the business email, just like we have from the intro video. I'll just go through this. All right, so this is the basic parameter, the business name, and you're wondering, what is the updated add gain here? You're going to see later on. Then we are going to have the default types. So these default types don't require an input. They are going to be pre-filling it by ourselves, okay? So I'll just call this service. So I'll just call this card service param, and it's going to be a struct as well. And I'm going to be extending the basic. However, if I go ahead and use this way, what will happen is that Mongo is going to create this basic information as an object called card service param basic on the database, which we don't want. So what we want instead is it should be the same thing, it should be spread out. So to avoid that, we can have this bison inline. So this will be bison, comma, inline. Like that. So now we can have the other parameters we want to deal with. So the other parameters include is active. So if this user is active, so technically you want to probably do a KYC validations by default. If the service is created, it's not active until the KYC validation is completed. So that's the whole idea there. So Bison is active and so on. So we don't need any Python for this. It's going to be filled by us. Then we can have the next. So its active should be capital letter. Then we can have the created ads. Then we can have the card starter. Then we can have the IIN, issue identification number. Then finally, we can have the ID. So the ID in this case is going to be the user email. Just take notes. So now we have our different data types. What's the issue here? So probably because we've not imported Bison. So let's import Bison to avoid that error. So we have this, and now we can have Go driver Bison. So now the error is gone, I believe. This should be a brackets and not the brace. Oh, okay. So obviously we're not using the Bison anymore. And the error is gone actually. So yeah, for some reason, it's back again. Oh, okay. I think I see why. So this should have a color. So that was what we were missing. So we should have a color. First thing first, we want to implement our get service to at least know that the service we are trying to create does not exist first. So I can probably move this upward. So here we're going to have var results equals to add service param. Then we want to have error into CSCDB, then DB collection. So in this case, we can deal with the card service directly. Use dot collections dot card generation service. Then our context is going to be context dot background because we don't have the gene context. So context.background. Then finally, we want to have the ID. So the ID is going to be the user email. So bison.m into ID, which is going to be the user email. Then finally, we can decode and we have it within the results. So here we have to do is return the result and error. Okay, so now we have the get service implemented. So now that we've defined get service, we can now proceed to creating the service itself. So the first thing we want to do is we want to have a check to know if the service exists. So we have this, then we have cs.getService. So we're going to pass the user email. So if error is nil, we want to send an error out that we've already created the service. So we can have fmt.errorf, service already exists. And now because we have access to the CTS here, we can actually use the CTS to render our error out. And what that would mean is if we come back to the service, at this point, all we have to do is just return CTS is going to render our error. So that way we can remove this. We just return if there's an error. The error information itself is going to come from the CTS here. So here we can have cts.json into http.statusforbidden, then gnh, error service already exists, and we are good. So now we can return here. So we don't need to return, oh, okay, we have error, but we can still return nil. Yeah, we've already handled the error here already. So we don't need to return any special information to the front end. But the issue will be, the front end will not see it because, yeah, it's expecting an error. So I'll just return the error itself. So I do that and notes. So the next thing is to add value or cat service parameter. Then we want to define our error viewer, which is this. So utils validator the cat parameter. So not the basic, but the full one. Then we can have our shared. So CTS, error into CTS should bind the cat service, and we have this. So we have all the things we actually need. So next we can define the values we want to set. So cat service dot is ID is email, cat service dot created at is this. However, I want to use a different format. So cat service dot is active is equals to true. Cat service dot created at equals to time dot noun. So I want to use that format. Then the updated at is going to be the same thing as the created at, so I'll just use that. So now we need to get the IIN and the cat data, which we don't have at the moment. So I'll ignore those for now. I will just go ahead and create our stuff because the flow to generate the IIN is kind of special. I think I should just have a specific episode for that. So now I can have this collection start one and have the cat service, then return nil. Or better still, return error. So if error is not nil, then it is undone. So in this scenario, we can actually undo the error because obviously we've transferred the error handling to here. So we can check if error is not nil. So in this case, this is going to be an internal server error. So it means we have an issue trying to insert into our server. So yeah, there's going to be an internal server error. So that's what we want to do there. And that's all we have to do to create our service. It looks good. And we don't have to do anything here as well. We've already implemented that. And if we check our server, it's running no issue. So let's come back to Postman. Let's create a new folder. And let's call this service. And we have different services, so I can create another folder. And this will be card service. So within here, we can now create. So this will be create. And this is going to be a post request. We're going to have hosts. And this is going to be service/create. So let's verify if that's the structure. So if we come back to service, we have the create, then we need to specify the type. So coming back to Postman, we can have column type. Like that. That means we have to specify the type here. So again, you have to be authorized. So we have to specify the authorization here. Then finally, if we make this request, what happens? 404 page not found. Yeah, let's see why page is not found, because that's not the expectation. So yeah, that's because all these are gets, whereas they should have been posts. So the list can be gets, but the list is gets, the original is posts, and this should be patch. Okay, so let's see that's updated. So if I send the request now, yep, so the issue here is the service type is not available. Even though I didn't specify any, yeah, we can check that. We didn't bother to check if it's specified at all. Yeah, that's something to note. But yeah, anyhow, we ignore that. So now if we do card service, or rather, let's take a look at what type we are dealing with here is. So card generation service is the type. We come back to Postman, paste here and send. So now we've been able to go through the service selection, which means we have the valid service. However, we've not provided the required body. So let's specify the required body. We have the business name. And the business name here is going to be at the family breaks. And yeah, I can send this now and it's going to tell me what is needed. So card basic farms are needed. Yeah, I don't know what is inside it. Maybe that's not the best way, but that's what we're going to be dealing with for now. Okay, better still, let's do it like this. Let's come back to the stuff. Let's come back to card generation. Let's close this up. So for our creation, we are going to make use of the basic service instead of this. So card basic service, like that. Oh, okay, I think I actually see what Copilot was recommending initially. So this should be card basic service. The validation should be the basic one, while we can still marshal our contents into the card service itself because it's part of it. Yep. So the updated art is not going to be required, so we can remove that. So we can save and see what's going on. So now we can come back to Postman. We can try to send this request again. Yeah, this is bad now. So let's fix that and send. So internet server error, why is that? Yeah, so that's the marshal. The structure is quite different. Yeah, that was what I was thinking initially. So if we change this to the basic one, we can then create the new type later on. So I can come down here, comment this out, and say payload. So I'll call this payload into card service param, into the basic param. Then we can have the other ones. So it's active is true, it's created that is this, it's updated that is that, and the starter, we don't have the starter yet, so we can have the ID is the user email. Yeah, so the updated add field is not here, so we can remove that. Now we can remove all this and have payload dot updated ads equals to payload dot created ads. So the payload is what we are now sending. Share. Okay, so let's see if our server has from battery senses. So now it's working. Let's try stuff again. Yep, so now we get to see all the fields that we require. So we already have the business name, so we can have the API endpoints. Or better still, let me just copy everything. And we fill out. So for the API endpoint, I'm going to have HTTPS fingrate dots, or rather the API dot fingrate dot ground slash v1 API key. We can have a random key. So let's just have something. The business address I'll have this as my address. The email. So yeah, let's verify that the business email is expecting an email type. So under the business, we can have comma email. Okay, let's come back here. So now this is expecting a valid email. So let's put an invalid email here for now. Let's just call it email. The business name. We already have the business name. Oh, actually, the structure is different from what we already specified initially. So this is the business name. That's the correct structure. We can remove this. Then the business type is going to be a solo business. The website is going to be https fingrid.com. So I'll remove all this. Then finally, we have the encryption keys. Okay. So that's our structure. Let's send. Now the email address is reporting that it's not valid. So email at fingrid.com. Okay, let's send. So now we have the service created. And we can come back to Mongo. So Mongo is not going to report any error because its Mongo is just dumping data. So let's refresh this. We now have the card generation service and we have our data. So we still have this like this, even though that's not the structure. Yep. And that's because we've changed things a little bit by redefining the way we've specified our content. So let's fix this. So had it been we had used the card service directly, it would have done its stuff because obviously it's going to recognize this and do things the right way. However, we've changed the structure by doing things like this. So after taking a look at the code well enough, I think I figured out my issue. So all this flow are kind of space sensitive. So the moment I added a space here, it's already invalidated the whole flow I envisaged here. So the only things we need to do is just have the space removed and we're going to have what we need. So yeah, we've done that. Let's try to create the service again and see what happens. Best thing, let's see if the server is running, which it is. So let's try to create the service again. So service already created. Yeah, that's the issue we had. And there's no reason why we should have the service created again. Let's see why we are getting that. So return error. Okay, error is nil. So yeah, let me return an error for this case because error is actually nil and we can return that. So we can have fmt.errorf. Yeah, let's return that. So now let's see if our server is running. And it is. So we can come back to our postman and send. So now we have the correct thing. So that makes more sense. So we have to remove this. So let's delete this. And now let's create the service again. So service is created again. And let's refresh. So now things are aligning well. So the issue we had before was just that spacing. We shouldn't have it. And with that fixed, we can now create our service. However, at the moment, you will see that the IIN and the starter are all empty. So we need to fix that. And that's what we'll be looking at in the next episode. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.